Watching Kyle's unboxing videos again?
Yeah, he always finds the coolest... No way! A robot dog? Gotta ask where he got it.
Or use your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Just draw a circle around the dog on your screen, and it shows you where to buy it right in the app.
Whoa, I just learned a new trick. And that for once, I beat Kyle to the next big thing.
Circle it, find it with the new Galaxy S24 Ultra and circle the search with Google. Get yours now at Samsung.com. Internet connection required. Results may vary based on visuals.
Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to episode 340 of the Duke Basketball Report podcast. This is a participation episode. We're going to need all of you. Once we are all done, we're going to need all of you to tell us how we did individually at what we're going to be doing coming up. We're going to explain it all in just a moment. But first, time for me to welcome in my partners in crime. I, of course, am Jason Evans, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. I am joined, as always, by Donald and Sam. Sam, how's it going today?
Not bad, not bad. Excited for this conversation.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Donald, you ready to get to it?
Yeah, so for those of you out there, we usually have some scheduling issues, but we wanted to make sure that we all were together for this one because of how fun it is. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation and to this thing we got going, this nice little game that Jason came up with us.
Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. This is a classic offseason activity, and even though football has started up for Duke, basketball is still in the offseason. So this is what we're doing. We're going to have a draft of Duke basketball players throughout the Coach K era. This is yet another of our sort of tributes to Mike Krzyzewski's many, many years on the job at Duke. So any player who has played for Coach K is eligible in this draft that we're about to do. We're going to go along, Donald, Jason, and Sam, and each one of us are going to pick players to form a team. You will pick 5 starters by position. You will then pick 3 substitutes. So a total of 8 players. And we're stopping at 8 because Coach K never plays more than 8 players anyway. we know that that's pretty much the limit. And like I say, anyone is eligible. Once a player has been selected, he cannot be selected again. And we're just going to fill out our teams. And then when it's all said and done, Jason's team, Donald's team, and Sam's team will match up against each other, and we will let all of you select which one of us has drafted the best team. Hopefully there will be some thought going into this in terms of how different guys mesh together, what they can bring to the table to complement the other Duke guys on their team. Do you take a bunch of offensive players, a bunch of defensive players? What's it going to be? It'll be interesting to see how it all goes down. And so we're going to go ahead and get started, guys. You ready for this? I'm getting thumbs up from both of you. So
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So we haven't decided who's going to go first. We're going to do this as a snake. And guys, let's do this. I haven't even figured out how we're going to pick the guy who starts, because first, second, third, the guy who goes third, maybe there's an advantage there picking the 4th player. I don't know. So I'm just going to randomly say that we're going to go in order that we are shown on my Zoom screen, which is Donald, Jason, Sam. That's just sort of the way it randomly shows on my screen. So Donald, you will get the first pick, and let's get it started. Who you got, man?
Well, this is a hard one because the hardest pick is always the first one when you have several players that you could have at your disposal. So I'm going to go with the man. I'm going to go with the freak. I'm going to go with the beast. I'm going Zion Williamson, and I'm going to put him at the 4 spot.
Okay, so I'm writing this down. So you have Zion at the 4. I'm of the belief that there are sort of 3 players, in my opinion, who could really be considered for the first pick. And I'm taking the one you took, Zion. Zion would have been second on my list. I'm taking the guy who's first on my list, the best defender in Duke history, who's also a hell of an offensive player. And I'm going to play him at the 4. And it was a question. I thought about playing him at the 3, but I'm taking Shane Battier and putting Shane at the 4.
All right.
Ooh, that's interesting. Shane, the pick, always a great pick. Obviously one of my favorite players all time, but putting him at the 4, I think is interesting.
We'll see how it plays out. I feel like there are going to be more wings available for me later on than big men.
I am somewhat tracking, I guess, Jason's strategy here, because I'm going to take one wing who could kind of double as a post player, and I'm going to take one guy who's basically a post player. And I also get the advantage that the two of them were teammates, so hopefully they know how to play off of each other well. They were also the participants in the most famous Duke play of all time. I'm going to take Grant Hill as my small forward, and I'm going to take Christian Laettner as my center on my team.
Okay, so you got Laettner at the 5. I feel like Laettner could have been available for you at the 4, perhaps.
He could have.
Yeah,
he could have. But I've got plans, sir.
And by the way, I love that you took Grant with the third pick, because I was of the belief that Zion, Shane, and Grant were the first 3 picks. Had to be the first 3 picks. You may be a little surprised. The guy that I'm going to take next, is at the 1. It's a point guard. And I really think we're going only on college career. So I think Jay Will is the best point guard in Duke history. I'm taking him at the 1, 2-time National Player of the Year, the only Dukie who is a 2-time National Player of the Year. I got Jay Will as my point guard.
You just stole my pick. So give me a minute as I go through this. And this is probably going to happen at certain points here. So I get the next 2, right? I get the
Yep, you've got 2
second.
picks.
Okay.
You're wrapping it around, baby.
So I think this is going to be interesting. You may push back on this, but I'm going to go with a center. I'm going to go with the 5, and I'm going to go with, I think, probably the best center that we've had, and that is Sheldon Williams, the landlord. Rent is due next week, and I want to make sure I have the landlord on my side.
So you have Zion and Sheldon on the same team.
That's right.
It's a lot of size.
It's a lot of size.
Your inside's going to be a little clogged. There's not a lot of stretching. There's not a lot of stretching of the floor going on.
Hey, but you know what? Ain't nobody coming in to paint. Believe
That's true.
And so to double with that, I'm going to go with who I think is the greatest shooter in Duke history, and obviously the greatest scorer in Duke history. At the 2, I got JJ Redick.
All right. You just took my pick.
So I like this, Donald. I like your strategy here, because we've got you have a good teammates thing going on, which I approve of, because you've got Sheldon Williams and JJ Redick playing together. Obviously, they were very successful together in college, and JJ and Zion have played together as professionals, not as college guys. But I like that continuity.
Okay, man, you just made it difficult on me. All right, I want to take a wing here. And my number 2 is going to be arguably the most important player in Duke basketball history, Johnny Dawkins, the recruit who turned it around for Coach K. And I know you guys are a little bit younger than I am, so you may not remember JD. And I worry a little bit that when folks are deciding, which team has the best team, that by picking an older guy that I may be causing problems for myself. But Johnny Dawkins, the legend. I got Johnny as my shooting guard.
This is it's an interesting roster construction. I don't know how. I'm wondering how Johnny Dawkins and Jason Williams play off of each other, because I feel like the games may be somewhat similar and less like complementary, but they're both such outstanding players that I feel like they would figure out how to make it work. Okay, so I've got 2 picks, and there are a few things that I want to accomplish with these. One is I need to take a point guard, because we've now started the run on point guards, and I have a couple options here. The other thing I want to do is get another wing. I already took Grant Hill at the 3, so I need to get a 4, I think. And I can accomplish, and because my team is going to be somewhat positionless here, because Laettner can kind of step out. He was able to hit some threes at the end of his career. Grant Hill can certainly do a lot of things inside. So on the point guard front, and it's not going to matter which of these guys I take first and which I take second.
Sure.
On the point guard front, it would be very enticing for me to take Bobby Hurley, because I could then round out the whole 92 team. So that is in play here, and I think. Yeah, as I'm looking at my point guard options, I like the idea of I like the fact that Bobby Hurley is available to take with the rest of these guys. I think there may be a couple other point guards that are purely more talented than Bobby Hurley, but I can't resist the opportunity to put Bobby Hurley back on a team with Grant Hill and Christian Laettner. So I'm going to take Bobby Hurley as my point guard, and then I feel like I need a power forward, and I need somebody who is tough and somebody who's going to score, and somebody maybe who's got a little bit more size. So there are a couple guys that I'm looking at that are kind of hanging out here for me, but I am going to take Marvin Bagley. I think that Bagley brings an interesting sort of element to this team. I think he was technically a 4 because we could say that Wendell Carter was the 5 on his team. So I'm going to take Marvin Bagley. So I've now got a team of Bobby Hurley, Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, and Marvin Bagley as my 4 first starters here on my team.
So it's time for me to take a big man, and there are a few possibilities I considered here, but I'm continuing my theme of taking guys who are National Player of the Year. I'm going Elton Brand. Elton Brand is going to be my 5. I mean, dude just absolutely controlled the paint. In fact, I would argue that he maybe controlled the paint better than anyone in Duke history. So that's my 5.
So for me, I'm looking at my squad right now, and I need a point guard and I need a 3. I need a small forward. So I think this is a tough one because there's a couple of guys I could go with here, and I'm going to hope that one of them is still there later on in this draft. Part of the allure of drafting is you hope someone's going to be around when your name comes back up. But for this one, I'm going to take Kyle Singler and put him at the 3. And I think that'll round out be a nice compliment with Zion, Sheldon, and JJ. Here's the one where I think some people may push back a little bit, but I don't care. I'm going Kyrie Irving as my point guard. And yes, we're talking about just the Duke career. We're not talking about the NBA career. Still, with his 9 games that he played for Duke, I'm picking Kyrie as my point guard.
All right, so I've got to pick a 3. And I've actually been looking at this guy for a little while now. And I think Mike Dunleavy is absolutely the 3 I'm taking. He's a guy who does everything. And I think he complements all these other guys so well.
Remember when I was saying I hope guys are around later on? I was talking about Mike Dunleavy.
No, my lineup is, my starting lineup is complete. It's Shane, Jay Will, Johnny Dawkins, Elton Brand, and Mike Dunleavy at the 3.
All right, I am glad you did that because it left open the other 3 that I kind of wanted to take. So with my final starting spot, because I've got a point guard, I need a shooting guard. There are a couple guys here that I am intrigued by, but I am going to take Nolan Smith as my starting shooting guard. He was a first-team All-American. He was a national player, or a finalist for National Player of the Year. He was obviously ACC Player of the Year, and just one of my favorite guys. So I think whatever weird chemistry we're going to have with having Marvin Bagley play with all these old guys is hopefully going to be balanced out by having Nolan Smith on the team. And then I am going to move to my bench, and I am going to take one of the most dynamic players in Duke history who did not have a long career, but seemed like he left a huge impact. That's Luol Deng. So I'm going to take Luol Deng as a wing with my first substitute.
Damn it. I literally was about to draft Luol Deng. I need to rethink things a little bit now. It's not that there aren't great players available, but the guy I'm going with, I kind of can't believe hasn't been drafted yet. But I'm glad he's still around. I think it's just a function of age. Gentlemen, do you know that there is only one player in Duke history who is among the top 10 in scoring, rebounding, and assists?
He's taking Danny Ferry.
I'm taking Danny Ferry. Yes. My player of the year thing continues. Another national player of the year. I'm taking Danny Ferry, and I guess I'll take him as my big, although he can play anywhere on the floor.
I literally was just about to pick Danny Ferry to compliment my guys. So that was a great pick, Jason. So I get two now, and we're on the bench now, so I have to fill out my bench a little bit. I think since you took Danny Ferry from under me, I'm going to have to go with another guy who can play the 4. He can also play the 5. And, you can stick him at a 3 and make it a big lineup. I'm going with Carlos Boozer at the 4. 4 or 5, but the big man off the bench. And I think when it comes to my the small backcourt guy, this is a great question. There's a lot of guys you could probably go with, but I'm going to go with the guy I think would kind of round out this roster and complement anyone on the floor, and that's the coach in waiting, John Shire. We can have him at the 2. You can have him at the 3. He can even play point guard. So I'll have him there.
As we get to the guys coming off the bench now, I've been looking at some of the one and dones, and frankly, I think I'm mostly more interested in multi-year guys. So for my backup guard, I'm taking another guy who's pretty versatile, can play the 1 or the 2, and he's a guy who, if you look at the career steals, career assist lists at Duke, he is way up there. I'm going Chris Duhon. Maybe not quite the pro career that some of these other guys had, but man, you look at his college career, C-Du was special.
All right, so I need a little more shooting. I think that shooting is the place where my team has good shooters, but not elite shooters. So I've got Bobby Hurley, I've got Nolan Smith, I've got Grant Hill, Luol Deng, Christian Laettner. These guys can all shoot, but I need an awesome shooter. That I think is what's going to put me over the top. So I'm going to take Trajan Langdon, who was a 2-time All-American and has.
That's a really good pick, Sam.
That's a great pick.
That is a really good pick. Oh,
I just feel like Trajan can really plug in with this team and fills a hole. The other thing I feel like I need is like major size. Like I've got some guys who have size in Marvin Bagley and Christian Laettner, but I want a dude to come in and be a bit of an enforcer and to change up the game a little bit. I'm going to take Jalil Okafor, who was a National Player of the Year candidate at Duke.
That was going to be my pick.
and Okafor is going to be, I think, a great backup to Laettner, because Laettner can tease some of the stuff that Okafor can do in the paint. But when you're chasing Laettner around a little bit and then you stick Okafor in, I think it's a different game. So I'm excited for him to be able to run with the second unit, particularly if you still have Bagley on the floor with Okafor. Man, that team is going to be able to score some points.
Oh, okay. This is really tough. I was sure you were not going to say Okafor, and so I was like, okay, I'm all set. I'm going to take Jalil Okafor. I got to figure out who I'm taking now.
I have one other center on my list that I thought was intriguing, because I basically made a list for each of the positions. I have like 5 or 6 guys. I have one center left that I think is very useful, but I didn't think was as useful as Jalil Okafor.
Yeah, so I was looking at Mason Plumlee here. Is that the center you were looking at?
I'm not going to tell you until you pick.
This is it. This is my last pick. I don't know who I'm taking here. This is really a tough one. I'm kind of tempted to go Mark Allery. I was so sure Jalil Okafor was going to be here that I didn't have someone else selected. Mark Allery was a heck of a player. But you know what? All right. This is going to seem crazy. I don't think it necessarily makes sense, but partially this is a reflection of me trying to play to the crowd a little bit. I think that folks may think this guy was better than he was. I'm going to take Jason Tatum. I'm taking Tatum as my last pick.
This is insane.
Yeah, you can do that.
It's probably a really bad call, but I need a mid-sized guy here, so who can do a lot of different things. I'm taking Jason Tatum, and I'm hoping that when people vote on this, they are at least a little bit remembering the Jason Tatum of. God, you know what? Is it too late? I can't take Jason. It's just wrong.
No, you're doing
wrong.
it. No,
you're locked in.
You're committed.
You're locked in. I can hear you typing his name down. You're locked in.
It's a bad
All right,
pick.
Donald, I think this is it. So you get one more shot at this.
I get one more shot. So I'm looking at my roster. I have a lot of size. I have some great shooting. I have some guys that can do it all. And the one thing that I'm looking for, and I have some of these guys, but I want one guy that's just absolute clutch. I need Stones. So I'm going Tyus Jones, come off the bench as the one, come off the bench to nail those threes, get MOPs all over the place in Final Fours and national championship games. That's my final pick. Tyus Jones. He'll be my backcourt guy. He'll be my clutch guy.
So each of you took one and dones with your last picks. One of them being Tyus Jones and one of them being Jason Tatum.
Mine should have been Brandon Ingram.
And neither of you took. Hang on, not just Brandon Ingram, but RJ Barrett was on the board, and
not even in consideration. Not even in
consideration over
for
Jason
me,
Tatum
really.
as a college player.
Nah, I don't think so.
I think
considered him.
Jason, the other guy you mentioned, Mason Plumlee. That was the other center that I thought was interesting, especially coming off the bench. Like I don't know that I want Mason Plumlee to be my starting center on my all-time team, but coming off the bench, I think he would be terrifying. On a team that has these other very talented players. So I'm into that. A couple other guys that were on my list that we didn't end up taking. If I needed a defensive stopper, if I got to that point in the draft where I felt like I didn't have enough defense, Tommy Amaker was still out there. And I feel like I could have done well with Tommy Amaker.
So in terms of defensive stoppers, there were a couple times I seriously was looking at Dante Jones. I think Dante would have been an interesting pick somewhere on the bench for these guys, because the ability to have someone who could come off the bench and just go, okay, I'm locking down that dude, would have been tempting. The only problem is in the way we've done this, there's so many good players on the other team. Dante locks one guy down, another guy's just going to pick it up. So
another guy that I'm a little disappointed that no one took is Grayson Allen, who had a very successful career at Duke and kind of did a little bit of everything in his time in Durham. So that's another one who I was like, man, I would like to find a spot on my team. But can I run through my team really quick? I'm very happy with how I did here. I've got Bobby Hurley, Trajan Langdon, Nolan Smith, Grant Hill, Luol Deng, Marvin Bagley, Christian Leitner, and Jalil Okafor on my team. And gentlemen, I submit that I think I won this draft.
You can think that all you want, but you would be incorrect.
Because it's me.
No. It matters that you were the best player in all of college basketball, and my team is full of 5 guys who were all judged the best player in college basketball. When Shane Battier, Jay Will, Johnny Dawkins, Elton Brandon, Danny Ferry were all National Player of the Year. How many National Player of the Years do you guys have?
I have a lot, because I have Zion Williamson. I have JJ Redick. I have who else?
That's
I have MOPs. I have 2 MOPs in Kyle Singleton.
That's it. You got 2. You got 2, and Sam has.
I got 2 MOPs though.
I think I've only got. I think Christian Leitner is my only one that won.
I mean, I was going to give you Grant Hill, but
who never won a National Player of the Year award.
Yeah, because it all went to Big Dog. It all went to Big Dog.
He was a defensive player of the year, but was never National Player of the Year. One fun thing during this, as a sidebar to who actually won this draft, I was researching this by looking through the list of Duke players who won all ACC honors, to make sure that I captured like guys who weren't necessarily all Americans, but who brought something special to the table. Did you know that Greg Paulus won 3rd team all ACC in 2008? Averaging hold on. He averaged I don't want to dog on him too much because he's a good dude, but he averaged 11 points and 1 assist on that team. The 2008 team, I think.
Wait. Not 1 assist.
He averaged like 1.3 assists on the year. In 2008. That was so he was like sort of back and forth between like being a starter, and then his senior year he wasn't a starter at all anymore, because it was Shire and Smith who were getting the bulk of the minutes. But his junior year, Greg Paulus was playing in a rotation with John Shire, Gerald Henderson, and DeMarcus Nelson, and only averaged 11 points and like 1.3 assists. But he somehow garnered a 3rd team all ACC selection, which tells me that Duke bias is alive and well. Or at least it was in 2008.
Greg Paulus will forever be known for one of the greatest or lowliest stats you'll ever hear. He is the first person in the history of college sports to lead his conference in turnovers in 2 different sports.
Ooh,
yikes! Can I share a good story? Can I share a good Greg Paulus story so that I can lift him back up again? I think it would have been Paulus's senior year, my sophomore year, I was waiting in the walk-up line with a bunch of my friends for the UNC game, and Greg Paulus dropped us off a loaf of banana bread that his mother had baked that she told him to give to the crazies. So shout out to Greg Paulus's mom.
So there's one more name that has not been mentioned that I kept on considering and I kept on talking myself out of. And so after we were done drafting, I looked at his stats and I was like, God damn it, I should have. Do you guys remember the kind of season that Luke Kennard had his sophomore year?
It was very good.
19.5 points per game. He had almost 44% of his threes, more than 5 rebounds per game. I mean, I know sort of defensively, and look, none of us mentioned Jabari Parker because I think all of us said just defensively, I cannot put Jabari Parker into one of these games. But man, Luke Kennard was almost 20 points, 5 rebounds, and hitting 44% of his threes. How did none of us take him? Can I go back? I want to do Luke Kennard instead of Jason Tatum.
You can take him with your 8th pick. There you go.
Yeah.
I already did my 8th pick.
Or your 8th pick. He can be your 9th pick. He can be your player that never plays.
Yeah, no, that's not allowed. Okay, so we're submitting this. We'll put it out on the DBR so that all of you out there can vote and can tell us who has the best team. By the way, the best team's name is Jason Evans's team. So just make sure when you vote, you cast your vote for Jason Evans.
I disagree.
Yes, that's the way it's happening. Donald and Sam, thanks for joining me in this crazy little activity. By the way, folks, when you go and vote, also go to the DBR forums and tell us how you would have drafted differently than us, where you think one of us made a terrible, terrible mistake, other than perhaps me taking Jason Tatum. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a mistake. I don't know. I don't think people are going to vote against me for my 8th pick. I'm just going to say it that way because my first
it's a whole team. It's a team sport.
My first 7 are so much superior to the 2 of you that. All right. For Donald and Sam, I'm Jason. We're wrapping it up here on this episode of the DBR podcast. Email us, dbrpodcast@gmail.com. Leave us those likes and reviews and all that other stuff that you do. We appreciate it. We enjoy it. We will reach back out to you if you reach out to us. We will be back very, very soon. I'm sure there'll be recruiting news. I'm sure there'll be interesting things to say about all kinds of Duke football programs and other programs. But until there is, we are signing off. Donald, Jason, Sam, sayonara. Here's the Duke band to play us out and take us home.